Hey Spartans, and welcome to the first official episode of Halo 5 Arena Analysis. I've put a few videos up like this on the channel before, but I'm planning on making this a weekly series with a consistent upload time. That way you know what you're going to be looking for. But I'd like to start off today by analyzing a match of Strongholds on Empire in the Team Arena playlist. So I'm going to be on the blue team, and off the spawn, I have the outside spawn. So any arena match, you're going to have two spawns, either the outside that faces toward Turbine, or you're going to spawn facing toward the window. Now, in any arena match on Empire that is not Breakout, there's going to be an overshield that spawns in the pit. So I prefer the spawn toward the windows. I feel it's better for one simple reason. If you spawn toward the window, you should always pick up the splinter grenade. Jump down into the yard of your respective base and throw the splinter grenade directly on or a little behind the overshield. Now what that's going to do is set up the splinter barrier on the opposite side, and anyone on the opposing team is going to be denied access to the most direct route to the overshield. They'll have to flank around through the pit in order to contest that pickup. Alas, I spawn on the outside. So the general strategy I like to use when I'm on the outside is to flank around through the turbine like this and try to pick up the plasma pistol that spawns in the turbine. Now, one overcharged plasma shot will take down an overshield, so that is why I like to do this. But in this scenario, I'm being challenged by someone. So we're going to get into a duel, and he has the storm rifle against my assault rifle. The storm rifle is incredibly powerful in this game, and it has a insanely quick time to kill in close range. So once I identify his weapon, I'm trying to use this central structure as cover to stay alive as long as possible. Now, I should note that this is at the Onyx 17 to 1900 level, and I'm playing with a team of 4. So they're communicating to me right now that they were not able to secure the overshield, and I need to stay alive as long as possible here to back down. So as I'm trying to do that, of course I'm going to be taken out with the storm rifle, but I'm trying to put as much damage into him as possible. So at this time, I would like to note the general strategies for playing Strongholds on this map. So there's going to be a stronghold in the red and blue base as well as in the pit. Ideally, you're going to want to hold your respective stronghold inside your base and the pit. Now, this doesn't always happen, as the pit is a highly contested area, and you'll see that in this match as we continue. But if that strategy is not working out, another strategy I like to try to employ is to capture both of the bases and force the opposing team to take back your bases while you attempt to trap them in the middle of the map. So you'll see that as the match goes on. So coming off here on the respawn, as you can see, we only have one stronghold captured, and as of right now, we are going to try to secure the pit. That way we can continue our scoring and get that powerful setup. So since I spawned here, my main objective is to go back to my base. And one area I love to hold on this map is the BR, the window, and the general outside ledge and sneaky ledge of your side of the map. That gives a great vantage point onto the pit. So here I see Casey get taken out, which means that they're going to be contesting the pit heavily. We're able to get that kill, and we're still jostling for position over the pit. What would have been smart, in retrospect, would be to send another teammate to their base and capture that to try to send them into a frenzy to get their base back. So, as we see as that's happening, the pit's being contested, and right here I just want to back out. I'm trying to stay alive as long as possible, and that is a crucial part of any objective game mode, is to try to stay alive as long as possible to give yourself a fighting chance. Now, as you can see there, my teammates captured the blue side base, which is going to put us in the scoring, and that's great. So now there's two ledges to operate that I like on. So as I spawn, I see we capture pit, but they're taking blue base. So it's important to note here, want to overextend to go and try to defend the blue base, because then we're going to be vulnerable in the pit. So I'm going to trade with the guy top mid. And also of note, I'm going to be using theater mode for this, and the reticle lags behind a little bit. So if you see shots connecting and the reticle isn't on an opponent, it's not because there's any crazy aim assist or bullet magnetism. The theater just lags behind. So off the spawn here, I'm going to try to finish capturing the blue base, since I notice that they're taking red. Anytime you see them taking one of your strongholds and you have access to a direct stronghold of theirs, you should try to cap it to make them have a split decision on what to do. Now, one major theme in this is you're going to see me jumping up on the BR ledge quite a lot. And that's because, as I said, it has a great vantage point into the pit. Right there is unfortunate. I just got melted by a storm rifle. Another great power position in Strongholds is in the tower, as it is on any arena match on Empire. So here my main objective was to get back to blue base and defend our stronghold from that cap. And as I do, I see another person in blue yard, and I'm able to take them out. And once again, I'm back on blue ledge. So the timer of the overshield comes up at 9:52. We weren't aware of the timer at the beginning because it wasn't called out. But now that I see the overshield, I'm going to be able to secure it. And this is very important. I pick it up at 9:49. There's going to be a 2-second delay before the 2-minute timer starts. So I call out to my teammates that the overshield is going to respawn at 7:47. So now that that's in the back of our mind, we know what to expect. But after you get the overshield in any Empire game, it's important to try to be aggressive on the other team, as this map is very small and chaotic. So here I'm going to try to pressure the pit as much as possible to keep them from securing that stronghold. And in fact, I do get to the defense. Now since I have a little bit of overshield left, I'm going to try to push on this person as well, knowing that I can take that little extra damage. But unfortunately it gets melted as I go in to try to kill this person, and I in turn. So coming off the respawn, I know they're in our base and we have the pit. So off the respawn, the best strategy here would be to switch sides effectively back to red base. But since I spawn in tower and I have the scatter shot, I'm going to try to push back into blue base as the rest of my teammates call out that they're going in there and are meeting no opposition. So from here I immediately see someone capping the pit. Now this is important to note. If you are in the tower, you have a massive height advantage over one of the key strongholds on the map. And with the new Spartan abilities, especially ground pound, that is a very advantageous position to hold. So as you're going to see here, due to the elevation, it's easy to drop down in the pit with a ground pound if you have a close quarter weapon like the scatter shot and defend it in one fell swoop. So I see Shadow here taking the pit, and I know he's weak, so a ground pound that lands anywhere near him is going to kill him. I'm able to get the ground pound, and then I'm trying to defend people coming in from blue outside that were called out. Now, unfortunately, I'm not able to do that with the scatter shot. I should have zoomed in with the scatter. If you zoom in with the scatter, the spread of the shots tighten, and it's more likely you're going to get a one-shot kill from a greater range. So, again, I'm trying to get on to the blue BR and hold this position, and we see someone down low, so we're naturally going to try to put shots on him. And as of right now, there's no immediate threat to any of our strongholds. So I'm trying to just overwatch the pit because I know they're going to be making a move for it. And sure enough, they're coming through the outside. There's a tendency of a lot of players to want to come through the outside to your outside BR ledge or through the turbine to assault the pit. And that's a pretty good strategy, but it's also really easy combated if you have awareness of what's going on. So this play, I feel, is fairly important. I'm going to catch up with it on my point of view. Okay, one of the most important tactics to master in Halo 5 is pre-nading. If you pre-nade opponent, you're automatically going to have a shot advantage in that fight. So here I get called, and I see that there's two teammates, and it is also called out that they are in the pit. So as I come around, I'm going to try to pre-nade this area. I throw a nade here, and it's unfortunate that it just wasn't a very well placed grenade, but it gets a little bit of damage on Sentient here. Well, actually it gets no damage on him, but the concept still remains is that if you pre-nade an area and hurt them before you engage in a gunfight, it's going to be good. So Sentient here does a good job of breaking line of sight from me, so where I can't engage him anymore. So since we're both on this side of the wall, he has one option. He's going to throw a grenade here to try to allow his shields time to regen. Since he does that, I'm going to in turn throw a frag grenade on that side to force him to come back to the middle. So when that happens, he is still outside, and alas, I do not have a close quarters combat weapon to combat him with. The better course of action in that scenario would have been simply, instead of engaging him, would be to go back up the ramp and into Tower 2 to get the overlook. He was obviously baiting me to come into a close range, and I fell right into his trap. I should have backed down like a smart player would have and got to power position again rather than giving them a kill and giving me an 8-second respawn time. So now I have the intel from callouts and my own visuals that they are heavily assaulting pit and trying to take our stronghold there. So once I come back into the action, I immediately want to go to pit and provide any resistance there I can. So I'm able to defend the pit and reset the timer, which is great because it allows us the extra respawn time, the extra stronghold capture time to score. So there's another melee kill, and I'm successfully defending the pit here. I'm trying to use my surroundings as cover. Now, this is a really smart play by old Nick here. So what Nick does is, I get the jump on him in the tower and get a few shots on him from behind. And any smart player in that situation would try to back down, as there's little chance of turning to engage your foe and actually getting that and winning that battle. So as this happens, Nick decides to take the quickest escape possible and drop down into the tower. But what he does and this is very important to anyone that's trying to delay a pursuer, is he throws a grenade off of the wall, knowing that it will bounce toward my feet, and I'm going to take damage, and the likelihood of me pursuing is less. Now, in retrospect, I didn't take that much damage, and I still would have had the advantage in that fight, but still, I want to be smart about this and back down. So since I'm taking fire from red window in that general direction, I wait again as well, knowing there's a high chance that since he dropped down in front of Tower 1, he's going to try to take the ramp up to Tower 2 and come back to attack me since he knows I was hit by the grenade. And sure enough, that is what he does. So as he comes up, and this is going to be a very important play for controlling tower, if you have a splinter grenade, it's always a smart decision to essentially rope off an area that your opponent may be able to traverse to. So I throw a splinter grenade here in the main hallway to set up a force field of sense. Now that I know he's not going to be able to take this route back and without taking damage. He would have to come around through plasmas or up in front of Tower 3 at DMR to get access to combat me. And since I know that, it eliminates one element of surprise that he has and limits his movement options. So now I'm looking to engage him in the front of the tower, as that is the most likely place he will be. Now Nick makes a smart move here and throws a plasma grenade in to deter me. So his thinking was exactly the same as mine. He's going to try to block off a path and then double back around to attack me there. And sure enough, that's exactly what he's doing. So I immediately recognize that and turn to this area knowing he's going to take damage from the promethean grenade. He takes a little bit of damage and runs back to Tower 1, or Tower 2, I'm sorry. So again, I know the splinter grenade is going to dissipate, so I'm going to try to block off that area with a plasma grenade, as they have a longer fuse than frag grenades. And they're easily better controlled if you want to plant a grenade in an exact spot. So when that happens, I see my shield recharge. Now when my shield recharges, I know this is the time to attack him. So I'm going to sprint around the corner and attempt to melee him and then put the killing blow on. So I get the Spartan charge and then I'm able to clean him up. Now that's a really good example of jostling for position and using grenades to control your enemy's movement to where you have the upper hand. So back to the game, we still had 2 strongholds there, and we have quite a massive advantage, but the pit was just captured. So my priority now is to provide any assistance inside the pit I can, but I get hit with a brutal backbreaker assassination. That assassination is simply amazing. If you're a big Batman fan like I am, then you know where that came from. But off the respawn, since we have our stronghold in our base, I'm going to try to get back up in the tower to have the vantage point down into the pit. So I get a call out from Poseidon that he is trying to capture the red base and that he has 3... Is my phone ringing? I'll continue. That he has 3 people attacking inside the base. So when he has 3 people attacking inside the base, it was my objective to try to help him out as much as possible. However, we get cleaned up there and now they have total control our base while we were focused on theirs. So now we have quite an uphill battle to get a base back. And when you go down 3 strongholds like this, it's important just to capture 1. If you can get back on the board with 1, then you can swing the game back in your favor. So I see someone clambering to tower, and I just want to put shots on him to help as I call him out. And then there's another one in red yard, so I know that they know I'm going to be trying to take the red base. And Poseidon gets a nasty triple kill here, which means they have 3 down and we have a massive advantage in the battlefield. So we take a stronghold back, and my priority is to capture red base before moving on. So again, this is the strategy that I alluded to earlier, in which we have both bases while they only have the pit. So now our objective is to delay them at all possible routes they have for getting a base back. However, I see 3 teammates down, and I know it's not in my best interest or the team's interest to try and do anything about it right now. I simply need to play defense. So I pick up the BR, and I'm trying to get... I know someone's in red, but he throws a perfect Promethean grenade on me. Those grenades are very lethal if they detonate right on you. So I see them pick up the overshield there from Raya's perspective at 541. So the next overshield will be up 2 minutes from that. Now off the respawn I get killed again just on blue plat. That was an unfortunate respawn. Sometimes you can't do anything about that, and there's no point in being frustrated over getting killed off a respawn. But now I respawn on the outside, and I'm trying to defend the base in blue, but they get the cap before I can. Now here I'm down in shots. So another tip that is really crucial in improving your Halo play is that if you enter a fight and someone gets the first shot on you and you're down shots, it's always generally in your best interest to simply back down and live rather than try to challenge and outstrafe them. So in this scenario, you'll see Romo here come around the corner, and I get the first shot on him, but then my accuracy is poor, and I miss a few shots. So I know it's in my best interest to throw a grenade to deter him and then back down and try to flank from a different angle. Since I have the storm rifle, I know I'll have an advantage up close, and sure enough, that's his exact idea too, is to flank, and we meet on the jump up, and I'm able to kill him. So it's always advantageous for you to back down in fights that you don't have the upper hand, and you never know, it can always turn out in your favor like that fight did. So here, once again, we regain control in the strongholds and we're scoring again. However, we don't have the pit. So this is a case of both teams simply operating on the perimeter of the map and capturing each other's bases. Now here's another point that I want to bring up. The scatter shot is a tier 2 power weapon which operates on a dynamic spawn, which means that when it's out of ammo and is dropped or destroyed, it is going to be put on a 10-second respawn timer. So as I engage this opponent and I use the scatter shot, I notice that it's out of ammo. So since there's no one else in this tower area, and I know I'll be in the closest proximity to pick up the scatter shot again, I'm going to elect to go on and drop it, and then hang out in the tower for 10 more seconds to pick the power weapon back up. Now that doesn't mean to say you just want to stand on the weapon spawn waiting for that 10 seconds. You still want to be active, which is what I'm doing. I'm going to come up to the tower and put shots on these enemies in the pit, but I'm not going to sacrifice the position to where the scatter shot is. So here, I come back, and sure enough, the scatter shot respawned 10 seconds later, and I still have that power weapon control. Now I see someone's capturing the blue base, and I'm able to flank in there with a upper hand with a close quarter combat weapon and get the defense on that blue base. It's very important that we want to keep scoring with the perimeter rather than sacrifice all position to try to get the pit. But here I see that the pit is absent of enemies, so I'm going to try to jump in and finish the cap, which I get. So now we have total control, and the match is swung in our favor again. I see someone's capturing the blue, and I want to go back and try to provide any defense, any help with defending it, which I actually do. So now there's more assaulting the pit, and I know it's my priority to try and help. So here is a useful grenade tip when you're trying to get enemies out of the pit. Let's just look at the pit geometry for a minute. Since it is a lower elevation, there are with a few walls on each side and a back wall, it's very easy to place well-thrown grenades into this backside. And what will happen is a lot of players will like to hide along this back wall while capping the pit because they can't take fire from many angles unless someone's over top of them. So if you're able to bounce a grenade off of this wall, or if you're on the other side, this wall, you are able to get a lot of damage on enemies. Now some enemies are smarter and know that opponents are going to be doing that and try to hold on this back ledge to capture the stronghold. But that's what I'm doing here. You'll see in this clip that once the enemies are dropping down into the stronghold and trying to take it, I am going to throw a couple grenades off of that back wall. So I throw that grenade off the back wall and it lands exactly where I wanted to, and unfortunately my teammate Fugitive is also flanking from behind and I actually grenade him. So that didn't work out in my favor at the time, but it is a very useful tip if there are enemies in the pit. So now I know that 4 enemies are in the pit and that they're going to be taking that along with their base and they're going to be scoring. So we have a 27-point lead, and we're communicating to one another that we're going to try to take the pit, but if we cannot take the pit, then we're going to have to resort to our strategy of flipping around the perimeter of the map and taking their base. Because one more session of holding 2 strongholds will end the match. It's simply 3 points, and it doesn't take very long for that to happen. So they're still heavily assaulting the pit, and I'm just trying to put as much damage on them as possible. And we get a double kill there, and we're able to take 2 down. We should have pressed this advantage more and hopped right in the pit, but instead I elect to try to grenade jams on that side, which is a really stupid play. I should have already been capping the pit, but I was more worried about killing that enemy. So naturally, I get taken out in the pit, and now the game's turned into a very close, intense affair. So we're trying to communicate to one another that the time has come that we're probably going to need to try to capture their base because the pit is too heavily contested. So when this happens, I'm dropping down the pit to look and see if I can get any kills before moving on. And unfortunately, I'm taking heavy fire from the pit area. So I'm trying to stay alive here on Nick. And this is going to be another tip on how to flip the tides, turn the tides in a battle. So in that area, in that example, I was absolute. I was one shot absolute and I would be dead. So when that happens, you want to try to break line of sight to your enemy and let your shield recharge. So Nick clambers up, and I know my only chance is to come behind the actual turbine bit of cover. So as that happens, I know my shield is nearly ready to recharge. So instead of hopping out and challenging him, I'm going to wait and allow that to recharge, knowing good and well that players have a tendency to chase players when they see that their shield is popped. And sure enough, Nick comes around the corner, and I am able to get the first shot on him and melt him up close with a assault rifle. Now, flanking back, we're going to try to put our plan into action of capping their base and winning the game. So I see we have 1 down, and we have 2 down, and we have... So as that happens, I see Sentient jump from the BR area to try to ground pound. Now the ground pound is incredibly powerful, and I know that my teammate Ryu is going to be taken down by that ground pound. So my priority was to put shots on him first, and we kill him. So now we have a 2-on-1 advantage on Nick. However, Nick, let's go to his point of view. I don't know if I can back that up. Nick actually popped my shield with a grenade, and I am 1 shot to the head and I will die. So again, my priority is to stay alive in this stronghold. If I died here, we would have lost the game. So let's go to Nick's perspective. Nick is on the plat, and as that happens, he throws a grenade and pops my shield. So now that I know my teammate is there, I know that Ryu will put damage on him. However, I need to break line of sight so I can get my shield back. Ryu puts a little bit of damage on him, and I'm going to be able to try to finish the kill. Now, I was still 1 shot, but I had to push here, otherwise his shield would have regened and I would have been at a disadvantage. So luckily, as I'm calling that out, my teammate Poseidon comes from behind and communicates that to me, so I know I need to stay alive to try to cap this. This is very important because we needed 2 teammates in the stronghold to capture it quickly, because if they held a stronghold for more than another few seconds, we would have lost. So Poseidon's able to easily clean up that kill, and then we step in together to start capping the red base as my other teammates get another kill, and we get the stronghold cap to score once again, and that is effectively the end of the game. So, Spartans, this has been AA25 Mamba. I hope you have learned something from this episode. I hope that anyone that watches this will be able to take some of these tactics and implement it into their own game, as well as I will be able to learn something from reviewing this film. And as I said, I'm going to try to upload these arena analysis once a week. So if this was helpful to you, if you enjoyed this style of commentary, if you enjoyed this type of breakdown, let me know in the comments. And I will see you on the battlefield, Spartan.